saying men should be dangerous. By dangerous, that implies I should be ready to threaten someone, to hurt somebody.
No, you should be capable of it. There's nothing to you otherwise.
Welcome to the Dangerous Man Podcast, where we talk about how to become a better man, take responsibility for our mission, create value for others, and the many failures and lessons we've learned along the way. Stay dangerous. Welcome back to yet another episode of the Dangerous Man Podcast, and this is your host John Kostohris, and Adam is, I guess, on some kind of trip, vacation,
sabbatical.
Yeah, it's funny. We used the word sabbatical like a couple episodes ago. So I guess we just like a lot of sabbaticals, right? And I think sabbatical is more like a longer duration of weeks or months, but we got Daniel Gjengdahl back on.
Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, man. So we were just kind of reflecting on the week and kind of what we've been learning, and I guess Dan and I have had some conversations even yesterday, just in the last couple of days, really. Of we talked about storytelling last episode. Adam and I did, and we want to go more into that. Dan and I have been talking about a lot of business things, and we probably just want to talk about some of the projects that we're going through, and maybe kind of share like a little bit of the journey, maybe leading up to. So essentially, we're really kind of full sending it on being an entrepreneur, and so in the last 2 years. Dan and I have both quit our jobs working for different companies and have gone after building our own companies and building our own offers and products and services, and really, really wanting to go out and support Dan. You support your family and your wife and kid, and me in preparation for that, of course. And so what? I guess what's well. Don't worry, guys. It's
We're real mature here.
Nothing's on the table yet. I got no prospects. So if you got a sister, I'm just kidding. No, but what's been going on in the business for you, Dan? And I guess maybe more of that lead up, huh? A little bit of the story there of maybe why you decided to not work a traditional job and what that means to you.
Oh man. I still remember those hot summer days at Ziller Cat. That was my employer at the time. And I wanted to learn and grow. And they're like, slow down, man. We don't want you to burn out. And I was like, burn out, bro. I am bored. I was like, I just like learning. And at that job too, there's a lot of like dead time where there's like almost just nothing happening depending on the season of the year. Just the nature of the work, doing heavy mechanics stuff. And
sure,
I actually got in trouble because I started doing dumb stuff. When you're bored when you start doing dumb stuff. That's just I think I glued a wrench to a drill bit, and then I was like spinning it with the drill, and it was only glued on, so I got talked to in the office. I was like, man.
That's probably kind of dumb.
They're like, what are you doing? Don't ever do that again. I was like, sorry. Like,
sorry, I'm really bored.
What do you work? I was like, they're like, oh, did you do this task? Like, yeah, we completed that task. What about that task? Yeah, I completed that too. It's like, I'm bored, man. Like, give me something to do that's worthy of my focus. But I just remember I would be working there and I'd be like, I can do so much more. Just every day I was like, I could be doing so much more with my life. And after doing it for a full year, I was like, I'm done. I had never seen my wife either because I was working second shift. So from 3:30 p.m. till 2 a.m. Monday through Thursday was our shift. And then if we did overtime on Friday, we would. But my wife would work from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. So I would never see
Jeez.
her. I mean, maybe if she stayed up, she would see me. But if she stayed up, that meant she was going to get very little sleep. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, what was hard too was the environment was like a lot of people that had just like decided this was the best thing that was out there, and it clearly wasn't. And like they just looked miserable because of it. It was like, man, like just clocked out from life then, and just trying to like they wanted to clock out of their work, not like be in touch with their work, if that makes sense. Or like their work was just like unbearable, so they wouldn't like they weren't,
Yeah.
you know, like some of them were, good at what they did, but it wasn't out of like love or passion for what they did. It was just like, oh, I could do this, and I just want to leave and go home and so drink beer.
Yeah.
And that was the other thing too, was I noticed there was a common theme in the way people looked, and I did not aspire to look that way with the big beer bellies and
Oh, you mean just their physical appearance?
yeah, and
Whoa.
the vending machine of death, I call it, because there's junk, and they would eat this stuff like prepackaged sandwiches. It looked disgusting. I was like,
Ooh.
why are we putting this into our bodies? And oh yeah, so it was like nothing I aspire to look like in the next 20 years. So maybe it's not a good fit to stick around for. So and it was funny. It was the most money I'd ever made at the time. I think starting pay
Really?
was like $50K or something like for having no skill in that field. I thought it was cool that you could just make $50K for knowing nothing. Like
Yeah.
I was
Just
really
being
shocked.
You're like a shop assistant, right?
Yeah. Like I was kind of shocked they hired me.
Wow.
I think part of it was my brother. But
Yeah. Got a referral from inside.
yeah, good referrals from inside always help. But yeah, I can do it. I can give my life to the job. It's just like I wanted to learn and grow, so I got my revenge though. A little background on working in a shop like that. You always wear hearing protection for your whole shift, apart from like on breaks.
Right. Heavy
Because
machinery
it's
and
so loud. I mean, you go deaf. That's just like even wearing hearing protection. Sometimes it's really sketchy.
even then.
So
Yeah.
what I would do is I would put my Bluetooth bud in one of my ears underneath my headset, that my hearing headset that I wore,
Uh-huh.
and I would listen to audiobooks all day, and I would learn. So I was like, they could pay
Come
me to
on.
learn. So it was like my year of learning, I call it. And I think I learned more that year than I've learned any other year, just from the nature of.
Wow.
I just was like, man, some of these audiobooks that I introduced you to then were just so
Right.
good. It was like,
Oh my gosh.
wow, like I remember listening to
Like, I don't know if our listeners have any idea. Like, we've talked about it a lot, actually. Some of the books but like, these books changed our lives,
Yeah.
guys. Like, seriously. Like, anyways, continue the story.
I remember like I would listen to a book and then re-listen to it again, because it was like, holy cow. Like things that
Yeah.
just shift your reality. Like you view the world through, let's say, a lens, and if that lens
Uh-huh.
is got dirt on it or is distorted, or maybe you're looking, it's got an adapter on there and it distorts reality, so you're not actually seeing the world for the way it is. Those books were like cleaning it off for the first time and like actually starting to see. I don't have any other words to describe it. It just set me on a different trajectory after reading them. And so, yeah, it's powerful stuff. It's funny because I was like, there's like so many books out there, It's like, we're
Right.
just reading like a book or whatever. But I'm amazed that like 4 books were managed to do in my life. So I don't think it's necessarily like you got to read every book, but it's more so you got to like find some quality ones. And I think you could start to feel them out pretty quickly. Like which ones are like generic, like slave mine type stuff. Be like, this is garbage, and just put it down. So,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
Well,
that
some
was a
books are
little
going to
bit of
teach
it.
you skills. Like, you know, what I'm going through right now is learning a lot about digital marketing and like funnel building and that internet side of advertising and selling. And so some books just specifically teach frameworks and skills there, whereas other books may be like some of Grant Cardone's stuff or really a lot of the books Hard Times Create Strong Men. It's really a philosophy kind of uh,
Yeah,
like logic and stories and experiences that then maybe like if you grew up in a small town farm, let's just say, um, and you just have this like limited perspective on the world. Like my grandma, like she's traveled from North Dakota to Minnesota like maybe 2 or 3 times, but she's never um, like traveled outside of the state otherwise. And my grandpa, it was like once. Like I remember he came to our house once, but like when he was alive, but they never went anywhere, and they didn't use computers or they weren't online, and you know they didn't really see a whole. I guess they just don't really realize what else is in the world or the extent of it, and maybe a little bit in school or like geography growing up. Like I'm sure they watched a little TV, but it was like, you know, anyways. But the perspectives you have is what I'm getting at. But then you read about some of these people's lives and some of the things you've done, and you're like, what? It's possible to make $1 million in a month? Like people are there and they really want what you have, and like I can actually help them, and then I can make $1 million. It's just like that could snap the rubber band in someone's mind, and they didn't even think that was possible. And to me, that's what's exciting about being an entrepreneur. There's a lot of aspects of it that I love, and is that all there is to being a man? No, but to me, being able to be a provider for
it's very
family, or
important.
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
we gotta pay the bills just to live and survive, and it's just kind of like ground base rules for life, and to help the others. As a man, it's like I realized through a book I read, um, that by John Eldridge actually, that like I needed to have a certain amount of strength and character as a man that I could offer, almost like extend the wing and open the door of my home and invite, a spouse, a wife, and like a family into that, but not like, oh, I actually have nothing. And, this is more the ideal, of course, but I have nothing. And like, it's just like what, as a man, we need to like be able to offer that strength. Right. And I was really convicted by that message of like, yeah, like what are we doing otherwise? Just like, we're just kind of dodging duty and responsibility. And so it's like, and it's interesting because a lot of people would maybe hear about a certain calling or path in life they could take, and they would go, "Oh, that's not for me." And you could also have it maybe of like, "Oh, I really don't feel called in that direction. This is what resonates with me in a different, And that's kind of vague. But what I'm saying is like, maybe it's like some people like, I can never be an entrepreneur, but they really maybe don't know much about it, and so maybe they just have some false beliefs that need to get broken down to realize that actually is a great opportunity for their life. But maybe they have actually been gaining traction in maybe a job or, a community of other people and other relationships and friends. And maybe they want to go to Africa and like, do service and mission work and build houses and like build a business there where they just help the people in Africa or help starvation or food or children, and it's like, that could be very, very different than like starting a traditional business in America. Right. But that person could feel so strongly and called towards that. And so I guess what I'm getting at is that it really is a calling to be an entrepreneur. And other people have different callings. Like my one of my good friends and good friend of ours, Dan, he's a teacher. and he feels really called to teach in a Catholic school and teaching these kids about his faith, and that's everything to him. And I think that's actually really awesome. But that's not like how I feel called to live my life, and that's no judgment. It's just I think it's important to realize this when we talk about these things, and when you reflect on your life. I think a lot of our listeners, you're coming out of college, maybe you're coming out of maybe if you're a Christian, you came out of some kind of mission work, and it's like, okay, now what? And it's like most people will just tell you to go to university and kind of get a job and just be in the system. But that's just very like people like, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the opportunity, how do I, and they're learning from people that never really had money. Maybe it's parents or friends or other people in the middle class society. It's like, they never really had money. They always spent what they didn't have. They always used credit cards and maxed them out. And, not everybody, but it's pretty common. Like, otherwise we wouldn't talk about it. And so that becomes like a norm and like an ideal in their mind if that's just how life works. But then all of a sudden you come across this entrepreneur on like Instagram, and he's like, yep, I made this amount of money in this time. And it's just like, well, either he's a scammer or maybe possibly I don't understand that there's a lot more high leverage opportunities in my life. And to me, it was like, if it comes down to the fact that like I could be lazy or I could go and I don't know, I've talked about this, but giving my life to something greater, it's like, well, okay, well, whatever it takes then. And little did I know, the more I kind of encroached upon learning and getting into the life of what it would be to be a business owner, I was like, wait a minute. I also just like get to serve people and like be creative. And I'm a musician by trade. Like, I'm a very creative person. And I was like, wow, like this is really fulfilling. And it's really hard too. Like I can't just sit back and clock in and clock out. Like, I have to show up mentally, and I have to show up strategically, and I have to train, and just like like an athlete or like a soldier would train and train and train so they could rely on their training and do great things and you know what I mean, fall to a level of in war, be able to function with a team or have certain skills and with weapons or whether it be whatnot, but or an athlete needing to be able to perform on game day. And I think that's so true in life all the time. It's like these are great like things we do in life where we're like an athlete. And I think especially a lot of men will play sports when they're younger and they're in high school and college. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned there, but then it's easy to not apply that to the workforce because there's a lot of average people that have given up on their dreams and given up on actually the fact that there could be more to life. And so that's like who you see and are surrounded by is these people that have lived some life, got discouraged, given up, never did research, never learned skills that are high leverage. And so, and so like that is the why behind, I'll mention my journey, and that's all I can really talk about. And I'm passionate about it, and maybe some of our audience doesn't connect with that. But what I want you to connect with is the fact that there are things in our lives that, like, can we do a little more thinking? Can we, can I be intelligent about this? Is there a better, like, this is what it comes down to. Is there a better way? Like, it's a question I ask myself a lot. Smarter, not harder. Smarter and harder. Work smarter and harder. But, like, can I be smarter? Can I do a little reflection? Can I ask really good questions that help guide me? And so, like, that's how I approach a lot of things,
It's a good way. I was thinking about when you were talking about people will be recommended university as like the only solution, and I was like, how often do people stop and like think, why is this recommended to me as like a course to take, like a direction for my life or whatever? It's like the best way that I heard it said was to take a look at the people's lives from the ones recommending certain things, and you'll find out pretty quickly, like, if it's a path you want to follow or not. Like,
yeah,
it was Andy Frisella. He's like, take a look at the car they're driving. their family. He's like, is it anything you want to replicate? Probably not. Then don't take the advice. And I was like, man,
Wow.
it's like people giving their free advice on everything. But I was like, that's probably one of the better ways of seeing it. It's like, do they have a solid marriage that I want to emulate that I'm not taking, relationship advice from? Or like,
Man.
they say you could build wealth, but they're driving a Corolla. It's just like,
Yeah.
it's like, and so, I've been driving a 2000 Camry, guys. So don't think I don't think that there's not like a time and a place. It would make sense for me to go finance a $60,000 car to, flex some image,
Yeah.
But one day I'll buy, a nice car, God willing. It's like
What's your dream car?
I have like tiers to it. Like with each level of success, it's a different car.
Yeah.
So the first car
What's your screen
that I want to get is $20,000 used currently. It's a 2013 Audi TTS Prestige blacked out. And then there's like a few things I want to buy to soup it up a little bit and make it look better. But that's my first tier car. The second tier is the Audi TT RS. I'm staying consistent here. Which is like, I want to say around 65, 70,000 for like a brand new one. They discontinued the TTRS in the US, so the 2023 Iconic Edition is like the final version. And then after that, I kind of had to like jump to like high levels. So
There's no problem with
but,
that.
like the Huracan you can get, it's like 250,000. And then after that, it's the Aventador, and then the Aventador SVJ is the top one. So like a base Aventador is like
Wait,
300.
you're saying model numbers, but what are the brands on these?
Lamborghini Aventador is a let's say $350,000 to like 500 some. But if you get the like nice ones, like the SVJ is like the beautiful one. That one's like 800 grand to $1 million. So, and then my dream car is a concept car. That's the unfortunate part about it. So it's not technically to the public yet, but Lamborghini designed it's their Terzo Millennio, and it's just beautiful. I was like, man, it's background on my phone currently, but from what I was reading, it's about 2.5 million. But we'll see, because it's still a concept technically. So
Yeah.
whether or not they actually release it's another thing. So
Have they made any of them?
they have the concept ones.
Oh, so the concept car is like a prototype.
Yeah,
essentially?
prototype. So those, I don't think you can buy those though, from my understanding. So, but
No, typically not.
yeah, I'm just gonna have to make some friends, man. Be like, hey, bro,
Yeah, network with
Kevin, we're such good friends.
Kevin from Lamborghini. How you doing?
Yeah,
They probably all speak Italian.
yeah.
But no, dude, my car is the. I really want to get a, what's it called? Toyota Tacoma, a TRD. Just like blacked out rims, white. It's like a small compact pickup truck, and then a lift on it. Not like the Tool looking lifts. I mean, just like a
yeah.
I can go off the road
story
with really nice like big like Jeep off road tires. Basically, like you lift it so that way you can have these bigger off road tires, so you can not have the tires,
for
hitting the car and rubbing against the.
For the family people. My family
It's my adventure car I want.
is to get a Toyota 4Runner, like the TRD Pro ones are like, they're like a small tank. Almost like so a little background. Me and John do we did valet, and during that time we got a test drive every nice car under the sun.
Yeah.
It was fun. People would pay you to drive their cars. It was like, sweet, I'll drive your car for you, sir.
It's really fun.
If you want any advice on like comfy cars versus like cars to buy, the GMC Denali XL is a very beautiful car.
Dude, I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, like
That's
the white
that's
pearly
gonna be
ones. Oh,
yeah. So this is like a big like suburban or not suburban. Suburban's a different brand, Chevy, but it's like similar to that, right? So it's SUV is the word I was thinking of, but it's the kind of car that I've driven and I was like, wow, the handling on this is so smooth, and it's just like suburban mom luxury, basically. It's what
yeah.
it feels
No,
like. And
seriously.
I was like, this is like the nicest car you could get, but like be totally cool with like kids puking in the back type of a car. You know what I mean? It's like if I was in a Range Rover, I'd be like, I don't know if I quite want. But it's
My
just like,
kid's puking back here.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way to describe it.
And then
So
if
that's
you
a car I'll
want-
get my wife.
Yeah, no, seriously, I was like, Rachel, I'm
And I'll
buying you
be
this
happy to
one day.
drive it, but
Yeah.
that's the.
The other one was the Lincoln Navigator, like a 2018
That's
or
a cool
newer. Oh my gosh. It's the most comfortable vehicle I've ever driven in
Yeah, those things are
to
nice.
date.
Not very flashy, but you get inside and
Yeah.
you're like,
Yeah,
this is strangely an amazing
that's the thing.
experience.
It's like for 80 to 100K,
So smooth.
I was like, you'd think it'd look more pretty on the outside.
Yeah.
But then you get inside, it's like, oh my gosh. It's like
It's a nice
the
driving
chair
experience.
is like 3 pieces and it like forms to your back and it's got memory foam on it. It's like,
my sports car of choice is going to be the Porsche 911 Turbo S.
oh, beautiful.
Oh my gosh, dude. We had one of them pull up at the hotel I used to do valet at, and just like brand spanking shiny waxed orange paint. Like it was just, and it came in and parked at an angle right in the front, and I was like, I wish I think I went to the bathroom, man. I missed my opportunity to park that thing, but it was like, I was like, oh my goodness, this thing just looks so cool. And yeah, man, that's actually when I was a kid, my younger brother and we would play Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit 2, right?
Best.
On the PlayStation 2. And there's a lot of great Need for Speed games, but that was the age I was at, and PlayStation 2 was like the thing. And that game was like run from the cops, like avoid spike strips and like helicopters shooting. And it was just like so fun. And my brother and I were really, 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 really good at that. We'd play for like 3+ hours and still be dodging the cops. And like,
Man.
it'd be like, like 6+ rows of spike strips and layers and like 50 cop cars or something ridiculous. And we would somehow find the gap and get through. And like, we were just pros, dude. But yeah, that was like the fastest stock car you could get was the Porsche 911 Turbo. And I don't know, man. There's something nostalgic about that for me.
How much do those run?
The regular turbos are like 80K,
Oh, wow.
something like that. But the Turbo S are like 130 upwards of like 230, depending on how you customize it. But a lot more horsepower, the sport version, and some different
Yeah.
suspension options and whatnot. But
Spicy.
it's I remember the top speed of the Turbo in the game was, I think we would hit like 190.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Sus.
So there was like one road on this map that was like a straightaway, and we'd be able to like pretty much hit
Get
that.
up to speed on.
Just barely hit that once in a while, and then
Man.
probably crash or hit the brakes
Yeah.
and try to turn. But yeah, I mean that's where it's
Yeah,
at.
the nicest one I drove, it was one of the Vikings players came with his family for dinner, and it was a full electric Porsche Taycan, something. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
I've
man.
driven one of those.
I I'm not like a massive electric EV person. Like I think some of the reasoning for it's stupid, but the experience of driving that car, oh my gosh, like I
Yeah.
just was like blown away. Oh,
That was
man.
for sure. I've gotten a lot of really cool, like some sports cars. I got into like a couple Jaguars. One of them was like what's the name? It was like a 1970s like Ford Mustang, like, and some really cool cars. But I got into the Porsche Taycan, the one you're talking about, and I was like giddy. I was like, I don't know where this is coming from, but this is like I'm just geeking out. Like, this is so cool. I was just like, yeah, it's, it's a great experience to drive those, man. And it's like, this is basically 911, but electric.
Yeah.
And,
Oh,
but yeah, no, it's just, to me, like, cars are really cool. And there's just a lot of experiences we can have in life, whether it be to be able to, like, hey, I want to be able to travel with my family, or to go to like exotic places and have experiences and memories. And my big thing is I want to go to a bunch of these spots, but then also do some hikes out in the different like iconic scenic trails in the mountains, or different regions of like Greece or Europe or Slovakia or something like that, or just all around Canada. And to be able to,
you gotta get a girl that hikes, bro.
that's a word, drive around like Italy in some like sports cars, some like Ferraris. Like, isn't that just like something you dream of as a kid? But then we get older and it's like, oh, stop dreaming. It's not realistic. It's like, well, there's a group of people in the world that say, no, it's realistic. I'm going to do it. And are graciously teaching most of this stuff for free.
I know. That's
And
the part
with
that
the internet,
blows
you
my
can
mind.
get $1 ebook. You can watch courses online for free from these like 100+ millionaires going billionaires. Some of them, yeah, will sell books or courses to go more in depth. Some of them won't. They just like give it for free. And it's like the only excuse from not moving into that is some kind of false belief that it's is like unethical or unmoral, or that I would, if I had all this money, that I would just like become the Wolf of Wall Street and like strippers and all kinds of drugs live, and it's just, I mean, that's a whole other episode, but it's, the reality is there's a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners and million and billionaires that are just like down to earth. They love their family, Christian, Christian values, very focused on serving other people. Like they don't think of themselves first. They went and developed themselves so much so they could be good at business, that along the way they realized that they learned how to become a good person and how to work with people and how to help other people get what they wanted, and how to just like really be a solid. They grew. Their self-growth was a journey of formation that turned them into a man of character. And there's a lot of these guys I look up to, and they don't, and a lot of it's their mindset. Like, take away their money, it's just they remove excuses. They don't whine. They take ownership of their life and others, and they provide strength, and they don't back out of hard conversations, and just they hold themselves well. They work out. They keep their self-image and their self-confidence up, and they're always ready to step in when anybody would need, and they're always ready to be the first one in their family to help with a financial problem, or pay mom's like bills, like health bills. And it's just like, I don't know how you can see that and not be inspired. And so, like, if your image of a wealthy person is just like Hollywood scumbags and like I mean the movie characters that they create, it's like, that is such like a mythical like image. If you're applying that to everybody, it's not true. Are there people like that? Sure. But are there bad people everywhere in the world? Yeah. And so it's just like,
It's probably bad people
don't give
in
up.
whatever career you've chosen.
Yeah, man,
And you
that
probably know
have
10
given
of
up on
them,
their dream, that
actually.
have given up on their dreams.
You see 10 of them on a daily basis.
Yeah, man. So, but yeah, my encouragement, and that this is what I'm doing, is really going after growing and thinking bigger, and not giving up on dreams, actually dreaming more than I ever have, and believing it's possible, and putting the work in and the education to learn so that I can make it possible from others who have and are and doing, and they're showing the way. And I think that's the key. This isn't like mythical. It's like, this is proven frameworks of people that have done this, and they're teaching. And that's like what I've been learning about from Russell Brunson and a lot of my marketing, the books and stuff I'm learning. But yeah, well, that's kind of my closing thoughts here, but I don't know if you have anything you want to add or share before we wrap for the day.
Yeah, I had one thought was, you can just ask yourself a quick questionnaire and be like, all right, can I take care of myself? And then can I take care of my family? Can I take care of my extended family? It's like you quickly realize that you need to think a lot bigger if you're actually going to take care of a lot of people. And so that's just my challenge too, is to really, like I feel like most people can barely take care of themselves. So it's like on a scale, it's like from your duty and your responsibility standpoint, we need to not just ourselves, but our extended and whatnot. And I think often we can try and use that as an excuse to not move forward. Like, oh, I got to take care of my family. As if it's
Right.
like somehow, oh man, like I can't do anything. I'm a poor victim. It's like, no, man, like, I'm not saying some of you don't have very hard challenges. I know a lot of people with, because with special needs and whatnot, it definitely would pose a much harder challenge. But to not use those things as an excuse to not growing and becoming, hitting your potential of who God built you to be. It's like, I think that would be a sad thing for you to never become who God wanted you to become. And so to not waste that.
Yeah. Word. Well, you've been listening to the Dangerous Man podcast. Join us next time. Until then, stay dangerous.